a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud. Let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Danger Aware. This is Ray Howell. I am the Chief Information Officer for Danger Aware. And today I am going to be working on our ZoyZoyHop character. And because we're still new and we are still developing our characters, they are changing as we learn more and more about how to use our animation software. So we're very pleased that Lost Marble has sold us 4 copies of Moho to do our animations with. But at this point, we need more animators. So if you are an animator and you're interested in volunteering to do some animations for Danger Aware, get a hold of us and we'll see what we can do. We can definitely provide you access to our characters so that you can maybe improve them or use them to make a little cartoon and help us change the paradigm of abuse awareness. So here we are, we're in Moho. If you're not familiar with Moho, Moho is an 2D animation software program. And so far, all I've done is a few little things that, they're not really good animations. I'm still learning the software. I'm still learning how to do this. So here is what I've come up with, and as you can see, our ZoyZoy character has 4 hands and 4 arms, and I'm working on creating a manipulatable hand that makes it easier to use the character and do things than using a bunch of preset hands. So in most animations, they want you to create just a number of different hands in a list, and then you can choose the list which hand you want to show at that moment. So they'll show like a grip or a fist or a pointing finger or things like that, and that's all well and good. But there are times when you want, oh man, I wish I could do this with the hand, or I wish I had a pose like this already made, or whatever. And so what I'm trying to do is eliminate the need to create a bunch of different poses and to create a hand that functions much like a real hand. I mean, there's no way I can duplicate a real hand in 2D and with 2D software, but I can get fairly close, and that's the whole point of 2D is everybody knows it's 2D. And so we're not trying to be 3D, we're just trying to create all the possibilities for 2D. So with that in mind, I'd like to show you what I've got here on this hand. So we've got the fingers, and you can see the hand is pointing towards us with its thumb. And this is above it, you can see the original hand drawing. So let me just hide these bones on this upper hand for the time being. So we'll just get those out of the way. So we're going to go hide those selected bones. So you can see this is basically the initial hand and what it looked like. And once I had the bones rigged for it, then I changed it to look like this. And the reason is because when we're working with smart bones and smart actions within Moho, we want to have a center point or a midway point at which we want everything to come to rest. So I'm going to show you one of the most powerful things in Moho, which is the reset. And once I learned how much I could do using the reset, is how I was able to come along and produce this hand here. Now, as you can see, I've only done it to the one hand. So this is the bottom left hand. So if we read the bones, I've named all the bones. So you can select a bone here, and you can see the entire character has been rigged for all of the parts. Oh, I missed a bone. Here, what is this one? Let's take a look. Oh, I added the thorax bone, so let's call that the thorax. So what we've got is we've got a character with an abdomen and a thorax. The thorax is where the arms connect, and normally the legs would connect there as well. But we're humanizing our characters a bit. They're not becoming true humanish, but we're trying to keep them obviously insects, and this one obviously a grasshopper. But we have a lot of work to do, no doubt. But anyway, this hand that I've already created, you can see I've got the bottom left hand twist, so that allows me to twist the hand up and down like this. Now, you'll notice it's a bit off and it's only going up. That's because we're in the construction layer. To see the full effect, we either need to go into the action and see the action here, so we can run along and show it does flip top to bottom. Because it is 2D, we end up with just a flipping of the face of the hand or the palm of the hand here. So even though we get it to flip, we're looking from palm of hand to palm of hand. So that is what the hand twist is. Now, when you're in the construction layer and you created certain kinds of smart actions like this, you can't see their full effect in the construction layer. As I was showing earlier, I can flip this up and flip it down, but when I flip it down, we're going up again and it's distorting. So if we go into the animation layer, so we're in the sequencer or the timeline. Now when we rotate, it does rotate downward because it's now in the animation layer. So you can see that rotation down works well and up it works well. And the beauty of this is we can move the thumb and bring it down in like this, and we can move the tip of the thumb in like this. So we get a very good looking and quite functional thumb. Now, I use a lot of bone constraints to do what I do, and in this case, with this thumb going back, I want the center point to be here, or what we're looking at above, the rest state of the hand. So when we're in the rest state, this thumb's going to be like that, and if we go all the way back for this thumb tip, that's just impossible in a real hand, which is not a big deal since we're a cartoon, but I had to do that so that the thumb ends up centered when we're done here to look like the hand above. So if I go to the neutral positioning of the thumb here, it will be pointing just like this. So let me remove all animation, and then when we just simply rotate the hand upward, you can see that its rest state is identical to this hand above it. Now we will be changing the one above it. It will not look like it does now when we're done rigging it. It'll look like the one below. And as you can see, I've already started here on the bottom right hand to get it prepared for the same kind of effect. So when we rotate the hand back to normal, you can see, or when we go to the rest state by going to the construction layer, you can see how this is laid out here sideways, not flat like the hands above. And that's simply because I haven't gotten to the hands above yet. So, what we're going to do now is start working on this hand here. So as you can see, there is no rotation yet. There is no reversing of the hand, and I didn't show you that on the first one. So let's go ahead and show each bone here. So you can see that I've got little lever bones here. And what these are for is to extend the fingers out and inward. And there's 3 fingers, and this one is the forefinger, middle finger, pinky. Okay, same on each hand. So when I move this one, I'm now stretching the middle finger out or folding it over, and then the same with the pinky. Okay, but because we're looking with the thumb towards us, it is the forefinger that we see that folds over the other fingers there. Now we can rotate the hand up and down, and as you can see, the fingers stay folded in. So we can fold them back to normal, which is straight up and down. And if you're trying to get exactly straight up and down, I guess you have to be very exacting on where you put the fingers. So we bring these all back to center normal. There's the normal hand. I think that's a little short there. There we go. And now we can rotate the hand. You can see that the forefinger is the one that's, well, we need to be in the animation layer here again. But you can see that the forefinger is the one that's rotating with the thumb towards us, while the pinky is going behind the 3rd finger. Okay? But when we use our hands, we can put our thumb down and bring our finger over top of that thumb, right? So we can do that, but you can see here the thumb is staying on top. And also when we're animating, sometimes we don't want to see the palm of the hand, so we would use this to see the back of the hand. So now we're seeing the back of the hand, and if we fold the fingers, they fold under to be on the other side of the hand. Okay? The same with the thumb. If we fold it down, it's folding behind the palm now, just like that. So this allows us to switch between the palm before and the palm behind. But it does more than that, because that's when it's at its standard rest state, that the thumb is behind or on top of all the other fingers. Okay? But sometimes we want to put our forefinger over top of our thumb, or the 2 bottom fingers over the top of our thumb. So like we wanted to point like that. Well, I guess that works, but what if we wanted to hold our thumb down with the other 2 fingers? Well, we can do that simply by adjusting this lever here and going to whichever pattern we need for whichever fingers are on top and whichever fingers are underneath. So at this point, you can bring the thumb up and you can see that it's falling underneath all 3 fingers. But if we move this, we can now have it falling under the forefinger, but not the middle finger or the 3rd finger. So each possible position is available here, just like this. So you can see I'm going under to the middle finger, but on top of the pinky and the forefinger. So we can get every pattern we want right here like this. Okay, so we can also include an object in the hand. So if I go to this bottom left hand, you can see I have an object in hand and it's turned off. So we simply turn that on, and now you can see, well, it's not holding it, it's just the object is in top of the hand. But we can move this lever and make those fingers grasp that object in any manner that we want. So we can have the character gripping this stick like this, or we can have the character gingerly holding it with the thumb and forefinger. So we can bring the forefinger up like this, and now it looks like the character's just barely holding onto the stick. And in fact, if we move it like this, it even gives it more of that effect that we're just gingerly holding the stick in hand. And yeah, the thumb is overlapping it a little bit there. I can't make it perfect in 2D, unfortunately. We can bring the thumb all the way back like this, though, and we can move the stick in hand, so we don't have to keep it right where it is. It is linked to the rest of the hand, though, so as we move things around, so we put the stick right there, and if we move the arm, the stick moves with the arm. Alright, so now the character's holding the stick gingerly, or we can say the character's gripping it hard, you know, just like that. We bring it in, and now the character's really got a hold of that stick, you know, and we can even bring the thumb down like that. So with this rigging, we have a lot of versatility in what we can do with the hands. It is not perfect, of course, and we can move objects through the finger layouts just like that until we get the look we want. So say we wanted it curling in back over the finger, we wanted this one finger coming over the stick, we can do that just like that. So that's what I'm working on today. I'm working on getting the other hands all programmed to be just like this hand. And once we do, then we can do all kinds of things with our characters without having to draw a new hand for each different possible pose that we're looking for. So just like that, we've got everything connected, and the character's holding onto the stick again. And we can rotate the hand, but the stick doesn't rotate with it. So I didn't program that stick to rotate. But also you can see the thumb breaks in the rotation. So if you're going to rotate these hands, it's best if you get the thumb as close to the rest state when you do, for the effect of it looking proper. So as we distort that thumb, that rotation looks much different. So just be careful when rotating the thumb. You want to keep things in line and mostly towards looking like the rest state. So when it's in the rest state, you rotate the hand, it looks all right. This is not a perfect hand solution. It is simply a much better solution, I think, than a bunch of singular drawn hands. Had to take a phone call from the Chief Executive Officer of Danger Aware. So I apologize, but I'm now back. So let's continue here. So I think I was demonstrating the hand and what we can do with it. And now we're going to start making this hand work as this hand does. But as you can see, I originally laid the hand out like this hand up here. So as you can see, there's the bones for this hand. There's each finger's got its own set of bones. We can extend each bone. Oh, this isn't programmed yet. So I haven't done any of the extension programming yet, or probably any of the thumb movement. No, see, the thumb is just static in its movement. There's no adjusting for what I'm doing with the thumb. So I'll be doing some programming for that as well. But none of this is functional yet, nor the extending the fingers, but we can bend the fingers just however we need and put the hand in any kind of pose we like. But the fingers will always be overlapping just like this. If we do this like this, we have no control over which finger goes on top of which finger like this. Whereas over here, with the switching the back of the hand, we can control which finger is actually on top. So we can demonstrate that as I did earlier by moving the object in the hand here. Wrong one. Here, this object in the hand. So we can pick this up and move it over the fingers. And then when I tilt the hand, let's go into the animation layer. And when I tilt the hand and move the object into that place where we can see all the fingers. Now, as I move the lever that controls the palm of the hand showing up, we also control which finger is on top of the object in hand. And remember that right now the object in hand is a stick, but it does not have to be a stick. It can be anything we want it to be. So you can see we can create any combination of finger overlay here. So we could actually start twirling that stick. So like if right here, we would twirl it a bit, make it go flat, then go to this, and that would be like the fingers coming around in front to flip it around and then grab it and flip it, and you know, basically twirling a baton. I had a girlfriend in junior high school who taught me how. So I'm sorry if I know too much about twirling a baton, but my girlfriend taught me back in the 7th, 8th grade. So thank you, Debbie Overstreet, if you happen to ever watch this video. So here we go. We can turn the hand this way and this way to rotate around the stick. As you see, the stick stays between the forefinger and the middle finger here. And we can change that as well. So if we moved it between the, there we go, the two middle ones. So as we rotate, it stays between those two fingers, just like that. All right, and it's not perfect because now we're seeing the little finger where we should be seeing the forefinger. So again, this is up to the animator to choose the right layout in order to produce the effect needed for the hand. But this gives us so much more versatility than just using a bunch of different static hand poses. So we can actually do a lot of things with these hands. Even though they're not going to be perfect, they will be very versatile. Okay, so now we're working on this hand over here, and here is where we create actions. You can see each of these actions were for the bottom left hand, and looks like we've got these named wrong. Let's go ahead and fix that right now that I noticed it. So this would be, we're going to rename this, and this is going to be bottom left hand, because I want you to get in the habit of doing bottom top first, then left or right when needed. So there's the bottom left hand finger control, and then we do the same thing here, and we're going to rename it, and we're just going to move that L. Well, it's not as easy to do there we go. It's easier to delete it than pick it up, though. It doesn't look like you can pick it up. So there we go. We can change the name, but if we change the names here, we must also change the name of the bone that we're actually impacting. So we needed it was LB hand finger 2 and 3. So we look here for LB hand finger control 2, and here we can just rename it. We don't have to choose to right click and choose rename. And we put L there, and then we choose the next one in line, which would be right there. And let's get that correct. So there we go. So these characters are for Danger Aware comics and cartoons, and we're just trying to make them more versatile for posing into expressive cartoons and comics. So now let me check all these other bones, So we got top left, top left, top left, top right, top right, top right. Um, Left, right, that's great. Left, right, left, right. Bottom left, bottom left, bottom left, that's good. Bottom right. Bottom arms, left and right. Let's see. Top left, top left. Top left, bottom left. Bottom left, top right. Top right, top, bottom right. Bottom right, top left, bottom left, top right. Bottom right, top left, bottom left, top right, bottom right, and thorax. So there, we've got all the bones for the entire character now properly named, so that when we're manipulating things, this helps us get things exactly right. So now, we're going to create actions for those bones, and that's why it was important that I name them all properly beforehand. So when we go to create an action, we choose that particular bone. So we need to be in the construction layer, so I'm going to delete all that animation, and we're going to go into the construction layer, which is 0 on the timeline. So the timeline is 1 through however many numbers you want to put here, depending on the version of Moho you are using. The Pro version, I don't believe there is a real limit, but there is a practical limit. Memory and processing power, your video card, those all put limitations on how many frames we can actually include in our timeline. But when we're in timeline 0, we're doing construction. When we're in timeline 1, we're doing animation. So right now we're doing construction. So as I was talking about this hand earlier, this is how I designed the hand and actually how I rigged the bones. So just like these bones are already rigged to move the fingers as so that we can pose them, so is this one set up that way where we can pose these fingers. But before I put them in this flat way, I designed it in the palm of the hand showing way before I put it in the lateral mode. So we can animate these fingers properly here fairly well. You can't pull them back too far, and neither could you on a real hand. But we may need to go in and adjust for when we're moving down like this. We may have to do a little more work on making the hands look realistic. But for the most part, most of the things we're going to do are going to be easily included in what I'm going to finish here with the hand looking like the hand on the bottom left of the character over here. So I've already moved these bones down in order to get everything lined up flat ways. And I flattened the palm. And then I've brought the thumb down and squashed it so that it looks like this at this point. Now the thumb is made up of 2 different parts, so when we move this, that part at the tip is going to swing very wide, and because I've squashed it, it's no longer rotating at the center point for the thumb. Now I could have shrank the bones and tried to get a similar effect, but I found that it did not work very well. So I went back to keeping the bones static and then changing the objects themselves inside the construction layer. So now we've got these bones lined up, and the way I did that was simply by transforming the bone and moving it like this, and then altering the fingers' positions to where the bone ends. So that's why we can still manipulate the bones and move the tips of the fingers, and things stay fairly much like they're supposed to. So as you can see, it's a little off on the rounding around of that finger, and so we'll have to fix that as we go. So it looks like they're all just a little bit off, whereas here you can see they're working quite as they should. So either I didn't line these up before I move the bones, or when I was moving the bones, I did it improperly and stretched the drawing a bit instead of the bones. So we can go back to the ready state, and I've already programmed these extensions. So no, I guess I have not. I thought I did. So okay, I think I did, and then I deleted it. So we'll start with doing each of these. So we start with this control bone here, and we're going to create a new action based on that bone, and it gives it the exact same name as that bone. And that's why these have to be named exactly the same as the bones that they relate to. So where these are the bottom left, this is now the bottom right hand, finger control 1. So I'm going to tell it okay, and that gives me a timeline that is strictly for what happens when this bone moves. Now the beauty of this timeline is I can do any kind of animation work in this smart bone area that I could do in doing a true animation. And that means we can create basically a small simple animation that we can reuse again and again and again. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to create a small animation that lets us extend the finger and curl it back into the hand. And we're doing the primary finger, or the forefinger, and that's the one that is actually facing us right now. So the first thing we do with a control bone is, once we've set it up and given it constraints, and you can see this bone does have constraints, and it's minus 32, 32. Now that is my standard for a control bone that's not part of a character's actual structure. So we have bones that build the character, and then we have control bones that affect the parts of that character. And in this case, we're doing that with this finger. So we're going to animate this finger to extend out further for comedic effect, and then to retract and come all the way in and fold under into the palm of the hand. So we can't really show the open palm of the hand like this yet because we haven't yet done the rotation. So we're going to just start with the finger, and we're going to close this constraints, move to the transform bone tool, and we're going to rotate it to the far left, and that gives us our number 1 position. And because I've set these bones at a constraint of minus 32 through 32, I use 64 positions for the maximum position, and that way we have a very smooth transition of one position to another with 64 possible intermediary positions. So from the finger being fully extended to the finger being fully retracted into the palm, we will have 64 different versions of the finger in that process. Now, we can do that by changing the bones, or changing the objects, or a combination of both, and that's what we are going to do. So the bones on the finger that we're looking for are the tan ones here on top, and as you can see, the yellow one is the one I'm looking at here that's closest to me. So for right now, I'm just going to move the yellow one down and out of the way, and you can see that is moving the finger with it from the tip part, but not from the base, because we don't have the hand turned yet. So, and then we've got this blue one here that is our middle finger, and we're just going to move that one down out of the way. So now we're looking only at the bone for the forefinger. Now you may be thinking, well, if you move those during your action, won't that happen during your action? Yes, but this is where the most powerful tool in Moho comes into play. And what I can do is, when I'm finished designing what I want this action to do, I can choose these two bones that I have moved, and I can go here and I can choose to reset them back to where they were before. So this allows me to reset the location up and down. This one allows me to reset how long the bones are. And this one allows me to reset the angle at which the bones are pointing. So if I had done anything to maybe even accidentally rotate these bones during construction of this action, all I need to do is go to the angle and reset it back to what it was initially, which, as you can see, is 360 degrees. So now I can continue to work on doing the rotating, or not rotating, but moving this finger inward or outward. So I like to keep the action in the direction of the movement of the bone. So when it's all the way to the right is when we're going to have the finger folded in to the palm. And then when it's all the way to the left is when we're going to have it extended. And when we're in the middle, we want it to be just like it is right now. So the first thing we're going to do is go here, and we're going to choose both of these bones. Well, let's go and put the bones out of our way. We want the yellow bones out of the way, and we want the blue bones out of the way, which I just moved both of them together. It looks like. Let's choose B for bone. Select no bone. Then the yellow bone, and T to transform that bone. And yes, I just moved the blue and the yellow together. So now we've got just the tan colored bones for the forefinger. So we are going to select the first bone and use the select bone tool, and then using shift we can select additional bones. This time we're only selecting the one. And then we're going to go, okay, we're going to stretch this finger way past normal. And so we bring it to the right a bit, and that stretches our finger out. And then that makes that finger really long compared to normal. But I can tell you that we can't just leave it like that. We now need to go and look at the object that is this forefinger. So let's close up the bottom left arm there, and that makes us jump right quickly to this forefinger. And so now you can see the forefinger here is constructed from two different objects. If we select this object, you can see the points that are selected on that object there, and then you can see the points that are selected on this object. And you may think, well, where's the problem? Well, the problem is when we stretch the bones, we also stretch these objects because the objects are attached to the bones. So if we go back to 32, let's see. No, because I didn't set them before I stretched them. I did not set them. So before we do anything, we're going to go to 32, and if I select those two bones, so I hit B, and I can now drag across the bones and select both those bones. Then I select the transform bone tool, and I can reset the, I need to be in the bone layer on ZoyZoyHop here. This is the bone layer. You see the little bone there. So now that I'm on the bone layer, I can select those bones, and I can reset the scale to bring them back to what they were before I touched them. And this is critical. This has to be done at the midpoint of the smart action. If you do not do this, and you want to try to affect these bones in any other manner, they cannot be affected because you have not released them to be unchanged at their midpoint. It's a bit hard to explain and understand. It took me a while, but that's basically what it is. So now, if I look at our finger right here, well, it looks like it's off to begin with. So what I need to do is correct some things here before we start manipulating this hand. So let's go back to the main line. And now we're going to look at that forefinger. And we want to look at just those gray bones. So we're going to go to the bone layer, move the yellow ones out of the way. Those are the tan ones. Those are the ones I want. I want the tan ones. I don't want the yellow one. So let's choose no bone. Here we go. Got to choose no bone, then choose this, and now I can move yellow. So we move yellow down, we move blue down, and we put tan right in the center right there. So even though tan will be affected by this bone up here for stretching and shrinking or folding inward, we want it to happen when the hand is flat right here. So now we're in the construction layer, we're in the bone layer, we need to go to the forefinger, and this needs to rotate right where these bones come together. So what I'm going to do is simply go to the bone, and I'm going to set this line right here on my screen where I have an overlay. I have a plastic overlay, clear vinyl, and on it I have a circle, and I can put products in circles, and I can put lines on straight lines, and then when I move things around, I know where that line is. So actually, yeah, I want the line right with the line for the tip of the finger, and now I'm going to increase the length of that base bone for the finger to that line, because that's where I want the rotation to occur. And then we're going to pick up this tip bone and just move it on out. So right to there. So now when I rotate this particular bone, it's going to rotate more properly right at the circle. And it's still off, and I'm going to fix that next. So what we do is we go back to that finger and we draw a new object and make a perfect circle. The way you make a perfect circle is when you start drawing, you hold the shift key down. So we want to make a circle the same size as the half circle here at the tip of the finger. So we're going to start where the tip of the finger is and about where the top of the tip of the finger is. And we're going to hold shift, and then we're going to click and drag, and we're going to make a perfect circle, and we're going to get it as close to our fingertip circle as we can in shape and size. So there we go. Now we have a perfect circle to work from, and we're just going to overlap where that finger rotates, and looks like I've got it pretty good there. So if it's a little off, we can zoom in and see which one's which. So you can see here, this is the one that's off a little. So if we pick this one up and bring it over to match this one, but we really do want it to center on our bone, so let's put it right there. So now we can take this circle and move it out of the way for the moment. We don't need it any longer at this point. And we can rotate the bone on the fingertip here, and you can see it is very close to being correct. Looks like I'm not centered for the fingertip is the problem. So if I wanted to work out and get that all perfect, then I would come in here to this forefinger and put the circle back. The circle comes in a lot, in handy a lot if you don't have the overlay that I've got. So we pick up the circle, we move it back over this tip of this finger, put it in place. So what's happening is we're not rotating on the center. So what we need to do is put the center of the circle in the intersection of the two bones, as close to the exact intersection as you can get. So If you want, you zoom in really close, you can really get detailed, find where that position is. So now that we've got the circle in the right place, we need to make the fingers come to that, to those points, all the parts on the finger to match that circle curve. So right here I hit T and grab this point, and we're going to just move it to overlap that circle point exactly, as close as we can anyway. And you can zoom in to do this tighter and tighter. And we do the same thing with this other part of the hand, the finger. So the upper part of the finger and the lower part of the finger, we're simply making them match this perfect circle for the tip to be able to rotate without any distortion. So as you can see, we do have distortion here. So we need to click on the finger. So we're going to do that by clicking on this line here, because the circle doesn't have this line, this part right here. So we now pick up this point. Whoops, I moved the wrong thing. So Control Z. I forgot to hit T. So I'm going to hit T, and we're now going to bring this point to right there. And even though it's not perfectly on the bone, it should be. I should bring the other one down, not that one up. So this is the one I'm bringing down to right there. And this little bit of distortion here, if we hit C, we can see that we've got the curve, and this one is off. So we can bring this to bring that curve into compliance, or perfect circle there. So now we've got our perfect circle. We can pick up the circle and move it, and our fingertip is now going to rotate properly on that joint up until it gets past the halfway point here. So better in one direction than the other, but that's how we get our perfect circle as close as possible. And since the fingers will never be seen probably closer than this in an animation or a comic, it's close enough for what we need. So you can see that works quite well from here. So it doesn't look like it's a weirdness of any kind. But it's still off. Why is it still off? It's because at this point, we should be overlapping perfectly. So let's see here. Let's go T. Those are all okay. Looks like this. You throwing that off? Looks like that was what was it. Well, no, see, we're still getting the distortion here. It's as if this is still not quite centered here. Hit T and then click inside the tip, and we can grab the entire tip and move it around. Let's bring our circle back over and see where we're going wrong. With a perfect circle, we should have a perfect overlap. So here's our center is right, but is that the center of our fingertip? Let's see here. T, choose the fingertip, and it's not perfect, but it's very close. So right there. Then to match the circle, did I not match the top of the circle? Did I forget to do that part? Let's see here. So yeah, now we can bring that into alignment. And this into alignment. not dealing with two circles, but a circle and a half circle, it's easy to not be exactly aligned. That's very close. Let's try this. Now, it just all jumped when I went to this. So why am I doing that? Oh, I may have made some changes in here that are causing me to have a problem. Let's get rid of this. That was it. One thing to remember, if you start making changes in an action bone and you don't reset to the center, it's going to affect whatever else you're working on, as you just saw. So now if I go here and look at the forefinger and go back and forth, it's still changing a little, but not much. Let me remove this altogether. So when we rotate, we're staying on the circle now. So now we can move the circle. There we go. So we get the circle out of the way because we're going to need it again. There's no doubt about that. So now when we rotate this finger, there we go. Now we're staying right in line. So there we can bring the finger all the way around and the lines stay perfectly in line with each other. So that's what I was looking for. So now we need to do that for the other two fingers. But as you can see, those are offset right now. So let's bring this finger out of the way. So we're going to go back to the bone layer. We want to be in construction zone or layer, and we're just going to move this bone up and out of the way to right there, and bring in the blue one, which is the middle finger, and then we're going to hide the forefinger so it's not even in our way there, and then we're going to click on the middle finger there, take a look at it. And again, we're going to need a perfect circle of the size of this finger. Now, it may be the same size as the other one, but that is on the layer with the forefinger, and we can't use it on this layer. So we're just going to create a new perfect circle. So we're going to go about right here, hold down Shift, and draw until we're right about the same size as our finger. Now we can pick that circle up, and we're going to put it right in the center of where the bones meet. So let's zoom into the bone and get that point as close to center of those two pieces of bone as we can, because that's where we want to rotate. Let's see. Okay, so we can be there or we can be there. We can be there or we can be there. So that's the closest where we can get to that point. We back out, and voila, now we just match the finger parts to that curve. So we grab the base finger here, and now we can see the 3 points that we need to move. So let's grab this one first. There we go, and we'll put it right there. Now, that did move the base of our finger a little bit, but now we're centered in the bone, so it should be fine. And now we're going to pick up the tip of the finger, and we're going to move it the same way. We want to just overlap that top point with the other 2 points there. And now, when we select the base, we're going to come down here and move this bone point, or this point, to the perfect circle right there. And the same thing with this point here for the base of the finger. So that was the tip and the base of the finger. And you can see we have a little distortion going on here. So we're going to click on this point here and hit C. And that gives us the Bezier lines controls for all of these curves. So we can now adjust the short ones, because we know the longer ones are the circle, because this is the circle here. There is no finger port here, so the finger is a circle. The circle is here, and we can see how long the curve Beziers are. So these must be for the circle, which means these are for my finger base. So we're going to get the finger base to match the actual circle as closely as possible. And now we should be able to remove the circle just like this, and then rotate the fingertip. And we're not worried about looking at the other bones. We're looking at how does this rotate with the overlap of the stroke on the other parts of the fingers. So as you can see, that's working well. And you may be wondering, why don't you have a round part at the base of this finger? And I will show you. If we move this point from the center of this fingertip to make a perfect circle here, you can see what's happening is we get distortion of the stroke. So by moving this to be flat, our stroke stays flat except when it comes inside of the actual finger. So that is why my fingertip, if we bring it out here, whoops, if we hit T and bring it away from our work, you can see I've got hidden the edge. So this edge is actually just hidden. It's there. But instead of making it rounded on both ends and using a perfect circle here, which is a good way to do the joints, because I'm not using any masking feature like, you can mask joints. So I'm not doing anything like that. I just need to hide these straight edges and allow the other to work. So now I can pick up the finger and move it back to where that center point here is at the center of where the bones actually rotate. So again, the closer I get that point to the bones, the more accurate my rotation will be. So we want to get this, there we go, we're very zoomed in. We're as zoomed in as you can get. And you cannot always put it exactly where you want. You've got to go just really close. And as you zoom out, that really close gets closer and closer to what we're looking for. So now we can move this bone, and it stays with the stroke properly aligned on that fingertip. All right? So now we're going to do that to the pinky finger. So we're going to hide the middle finger, just make it disappear. You can see, we can still see the outline of it. And we're just going to go to the pinky. Now, before we can work on the pinky, we've got to bring the bone back into alignment with the center of the hand. So we're going to go back to the bone layer, pick up the transform bone tool, and everything went back to where it needs to be. So let's see here. There's the pinky, and now we need to bring that bone to the bone layer. And we're going to transform bone and bring this bone right to the center there. And we better move the gray one out of the way because it's in our way. So move that up there for now. So now we're going to put the yellow in there. That's the pinky. And as you can see, that's the only finger showing. So we click on the pinky. And again, we want to start with a perfect circle. So just draw a circle about the same size as the width of the finger. So when we've got it just like we want, we use T, and the first thing we do is set the center of the circle at the center of the bone connection, because that's what we're working to be accurate to. So get close, bring it in as tight as you can, a little step at a time until you find you can't get any closer. So yeah, if we move above, it jumps quite a bit above, below, left, right. So that is the closest we're going to get. We zoom back out. I'm using the scroll wheel to zoom in and out, by the way. So now we have our circle set. So everything else must adapt to where the circle is. So let's hit T and pick up this point here. Bring it to match the circle's point. And then each of these 2 points to the circle. Bring the center point for the tip of the finger to the center point of the circle. And then the bottom parts have to match the circle as well. Now once you've done all this and gotten your parts designed and laid out for proper or overlaying, as guess we would call this, so that circle matches, you go, well, now that's kind of a big bulge there because this was quite a bit lower here, so let's bring this top up just a bit so the finger still extends and expands a little at the tip, but not too much so. So now we can test the rotation of the yellow finger. Oh, we need to get the, let's use T and get the circle out of the way, and then we can test the rotation of the pinky. So there we go. It is following the edge border here, is overlapping very close within a couple of pixels, and the same with the other direction. So there we go. We've got our fingers are now properly laid out for the hand parts themselves. So now we need to put these bones all back to the center point where they align with the finger they are associated with. The fingers are already bound to these bones. So now when we manipulate these bones, let's see. Oh, this is not. That was doing it. Yeah. So because I had started making that action and had moved the bones around, that action was still affecting them, even though I had cleaned up everything here. And it is best to just delete and start over once you've done something like that, where you've redesigned the layout of the part itself. So now we can turn these fingers back on, and as we rotate the fingers, you can see they now look proper as we rotate them. So got a little bit of a heavy distortion when the finger comes down like this. We may want to make this stay sticking up a little bit there, but as you can see, they are all working as they should with the proper overlap. So now we can go back into each of these fingers and delete the circles that we no longer need. So hit that and delete, and then go to the middle finger, hit that one and delete, and go to the pinky and hit that one and hit delete. So now our fingers are properly aligned and laid out with the bones for those fingers. And I want to grab the bone, which means I should go to the bone layer. You can practice with the bones when you're working in an area, but it's always best for full testing to go back to the bone layer, and then we can see exactly how our parts are reacting to each other and or to the parts that we've set up. So as you can see now, this finger rotates properly, and the fingers are definitely aligned with those bones properly. Now, did we do that up here? Yeah, this one was already good. So I had done this one before, and now this one is the same. So I had not done that before moving these all in line like I did. So the next step is to start doing the extending of each of these fingers, now that we've got them properly designed. So we're going to, I'm going to just duplicate this layout first. So first I'm going to choose the hand twist bone and create an action for it, and then just go back to the main line without actually doing anything. That way the bone's position is set in my listing here. And so we're going to create the reversing for that hand, and then we're going to go through the thumb base, which that would be this one, and then fingers 1, 2, and 3. So this would be finger 1 controller, finger 2 controller, we go back to the main line, and then 2, and go back to the main line, choose that third bone, and create a new action there. So now I've got all the action bone reserved in the right order as the first hand that I did. So when we've finished, it'll be the same layout from one hand to the next, should we need to jump around and through all of this. So now we're going to start with the first one, the first finger here. So we double click it, and as you can see, it's now showing blue that shows us it's selected. And we're just going to rotate it all the way to the left for position 1. And we're going to jump to 64 and move it all the way to the right, so that we have 64 different variations of this bone interaction with the finger. So this is our forefinger, so let's turn off the middle finger and the pinky finger so we don't even see it. And now we need to again move the yellow bone out of the way like this, and we need the tan bone, so we're going to move the blue bone out of the way, and then here we've got the tan bone. So actually we're going to select both bones now, and we want to be in the first position, so all the way to the left. Our bones are moving up where they belong, so we don't need to worry about that since now we have our bones selected. But when we're all the way to the left here, then we want to transform those bones together and make them longer. So here we know we're working on just the tan ones because we have both of them. So we're going to extend them out so that finger goes quite a bit longer than normal. And then we now go to the forefinger, and you can see that our circle has distorted. So we need to restore the perfect, excuse me, I'm burping. We have to restore the perfect half circle here. So we're going to simply go to the we need to make that circle before we go into the hand. So go back to the main line and create the circle. So out where the tip is, shift and drag until we are the same shape and size. So it doesn't have to be perfectly lined up here, because it's when we're in the finger control that it extends it out that we need to correct things. So now we're back in the control. We're going to move this over to get it back where it's right in the middle of where those bones are coming together. Or, well, actually we want where the not that. Oh yeah, that is the right bone. Okay. We want to be right where the new bone is rotating its base. So the tip bone. So we're going to bring this on over as close to the tip of that as we can. Zoom in close. Adjust it by little sections till you're at the closest point you can get, right there. And now we have to match the base of the finger to match this circle with all these points, just like we did before. So we're going to select the transform point tool, touch this one point, and just bring it in to right there. Let's bring it to the bone, right in the center of the bone, even though our circle is not quite there. And now we can hit T, select the circle, and go back to the main line and get rid of the circle. Hit delete in the main line. And now we can test our finger control by choosing the rotate finger, and you can see it's extended out because we haven't reset it. And now if we rotate, that rotation still works. The stroke for our fingertip matches the stroke for our finger base because we're rotating on a perfect circle even when it's extended. So now we can go back to this finger. We go to 32, and now we want to reset the bones. So we select these two bones, hit B for bone, and be in the bone layer. That helps. And select these bones, and we're just going to reset them on all three sections. So we're going to reset, reset, and reset. So now the bones are back to their at-rest state. That's not just changing them to be this, it's returning them to the rest state so that it's released for other features to use in effect. So now we've done that, we need to check the forefinger, and now we can see our point has distorted just like the bones did. So, but we're back at the center. Why are they distorted? Because the object is still a separate object than the bones. So we have to be in the finger area, we have to hit T, and we select the base, and then we simply choose reset. And now all those parts go back to normal. And it's not a bad idea to grab the tip of the finger as well and hit reset on it as well, just in case you've accidentally changed anything. And believe me, it happens all the time. So if you get in the habit of always going to your center and hitting reset on everything before you're done, then we can get back to normal. So now we're going to go to 64, and at this point we're going to want everything folded in. Now we don't want the fingertip folded in, or distorted. We only want to distort the base of the finger. So we're going to go to the bone layer, select bone, and then hit anywhere to select no bone. Then we're going to choose transform bone, and we're going to shrink this bone. Now we only want to shrink it to the point where it's just barely past the edge of the palm of the hand. So we can go in here and choose the forefinger, and you can see that we've lost our curve just as expected because we're reducing the bone down. So what we need to do here is grab these points. So let's see here. Let's grab the tip of the finger first and move it away. Then we're going to grab this bone point right here and bring this out until we've got our half circle again. And then we pick up all of this and drag it in this way, but we drag this one point back where it was. So all of that will occur to this point. So as you can see, it stretches out and comes in, and we don't get a whole lot of distortion on that line change. We do get some, so let's move it over my overlay so it should keep this point right on that line. So we go back to 32, we can see that point is over here. So let's move the fully extended point to that same point so that we're staying as close to the original as possible. So there we go. There, that point pretty well stays still. Very good. So now, one other thing I can see here we might want to do is at 64 is bring this point in and over and down like that. So it just fully engulfs to the palm of the hand there on the bottom. So there we go, and it moves out where it needs to be when it needs to be for the extended version of the finger there. All right. So now the final thing we want to do is when this bone is here, we definitely want to put this back where it belongs, which would be at the rotation point at the base of the bone there. And at this point we want the finger pointing inward, so we're just going to flip it like this, and then we're going to move it so that the overlapping points right here on the other side of the bone, well, it actually should be right here. So yeah, we want to do it to there. And that means that when we go this way, the bones and the finger shrinks until it looks like a rounded tip of a finger. If we go further, we start really distorting. So we want to stop probably no further than right there. So that's at 52. Actually, let's go to 53. That's a little more rounded. So at 53, we're good. We can actually come in and move these points in if we want to get rid of that extra little round, not round there. That's the beauty of action bones. We can adjust anything we want, and as long as we hit reset at 32, we're fine. We can do anything we want. So now at 54, we're going back inward. That's great. And let's bring these edges in here just a bit. Like that. So we don't get a lot of distortion. So it looks like the finger is a bit crinkled there, the knuckle. And again, we want this to be as close to a perfect circle as possible. Now, I could go out, draw the circle, come back in, or I can do this and use my screen overlay, which is a clear vinyl that I've cut to have very sharp lines in it. And the center is right there. And so now I can see that my circle is not quite perfectly round, so it needs to be about right there. And now we can bring these points back out where they were. So there we go. And now we come to here, and at one more spot beyond, now we reflip the tip of the finger. So that's the base, and we want the tip, which is right there, and we flip it back to normal. And you can see there's a little distortion here for the like a fingernail tip maybe, but we don't want that. We're just going to bring this out just like that. So from that point on, it's going to continue to stretch into the normal fingertip. So at 32, we want to select all the points that we might have affected. So we just select, Control Z. We use G, and we can grab all of these points and simply choose the point selection tool and reset them all. Since nothing changed, it shows that we were good anyway. But by hitting reset, we've released all those points. And then we want to do the same thing with the bones. So we go to the bone layer. We select all these bones, and we want to reset them to the standard. So reset, reset, and reset. So those are now all back to where they belong in the proper alignment for each finger. And we are done here with the finger control, so we can exit out to the main line, where we then grab the manipulate bone tool and we test whether the finger stretches and then comes and folds in. So I think we could fold in a little further. It probably should fold in past the thumb a bit. So let's go ahead and go back into the finger control. We're going to go all the way to the right, and we're going to go to the fingertip, and we're just going to grab that tip point here and stretch it in to the thumb. So there we go. So that, I think, is a little better. Yeah, that gives us more inward finger movement there. There we go. So now that finger is done for this hand, and I can manipulate it, make it longer, rotate it, and it stays rotating on the line. I can bring it in, and at this point we're not on the line. Look at that. We're way off when we're in, because this is, whoops, wrong bone. I didn't want that. This bone. Okay, so we're definitely not getting a perfect circle there. We're off the center is all it is. The knuckle needs to come out just a little further. So let's go back into the finger tool, and when it's shrank all the way in, that's when we're still not a perfect circle. So let's bring this, hit T, and bring this out. Right there. And let's give that a try. So now we shrink the finger all the way in using the control bone, and now we rotate the finger and we lose it a little bit. Let's go the other direction, same thing. So it needs to come out just a little bit more. So let's go back to the main line, go back into the finger control, go to 64, hit T, pick up the knuckle, and just bring it out just 2 or 3 more clicks. Close back to the main line, select the bone layer, move the bone all the way in, and rotate the finger. There we go. That is very close. So now, no matter where the finger is, with the length out, we're still going to match the edge of the finger with the edge of the tip of the finger. So reset to 0 or to center, and there we go. We got just what we want. All right, I'm going to take a break. I will be back. You have a little bit of fun. You can review what I've done, or just listen to the music. You know, we got nice music playing.
Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud. Let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore.
I forgot to turn the mic on. So hopefully you can hear me now. So as I was saying, let's select this bone and we're going to go ahead and reset it back to where it should be at its normal position. So we go to the bone layer, we select the transform bone tool, and we select reset on its angle, position, and length, and there we go. And so now we've got this bone that we've created a finger base controller for. And as it moves up, we're going to change how the look of the finger is. So when we do move it up like this, we don't have this really weird curve. What we can simply do is pick up using T, grab this one point, and we're just going to move it up into the hand like that. So there's that. And let's go ahead and bring this one on in like this so we don't lose our connection. And then we're going to move to 64 for our extreme. Even though we can go well beyond that with the bone, we're only going to worry about doing the smart action to this point. But we go back to the bone layer, we select the transform bone tool, and we move it way down, like to here. So right about there. Now we go back to the finger, and we're going to pick up this point, and whoops, hit. Don't grab all of them. Use T and grab just a single point, or you can use Shift and grab multiple points if you hit G first. So G will let you hit one point and hold Shift and grab another point and even a third point. So I've got those 3 points. I now hit T, and that groups them together, and I can move them just like this. So we're going to bring that finger like that, so when it's bent like that, it comes all the way to there. And now this point we're going to grab, and I think all we need to do here is use C for our curve, and let's bring the curve of this finger out like that, and we'll put a little curve here on the inside there. So now when our finger moves to extreme, oh, well, that ain't gonna work. We've lost our original small shape of the finger. So the finger needs to come back down to normal because I forgot to do the reset. Remember, when you're doing a smart action, no matter what you're doing, when you're done, you've got to go back to 32, and you can see it's not resetting to the center. We need it to. So we go to the bone layer, select the manipulate bone tool, and reset that bone all the way back to normal. We go into the forefinger, we use T, select inside the base of the finger, and we reset it. So now everything, oh, not everything, remember I changed the curve on this one point. So we need to go to the curve tool, and since they're already selected, we'll keep them all, and we're just going to reset all the curves. And so now we're back to our base layout for that finger in its rest state. So if we go back to the main line now and go to the bone layer, we can now manipulate that bone. Let's see, get the yellow one out of the way, get the blue one out of the way, and now we can manipulate the tan one. And as we move the finger, the base adjusts so it's not looking really sharply distorted. Again, you can go much further, and then it's going to break it, of course. But we can go in and program it to come all the way around if you want, but that doesn't work very well. So just to here and here would be the maximum movement, I would think. But I'm not going to put constraints on it because I don't want to say, well, you can't do that. We just want to make sure that if we need to, we know how to go in and adjust so that it works in the animation when we're doing that actual animation work. So now we can go in and do the next finger. So we're going to hide the forefinger. And before we do all that, we were on the main line. So we've got our main finger control set where it stretches the finger and brings it back. Let me turn it back on so you can see that happening. So we can stretch this finger all the way out, bring it all the way in, and fold it over into the palm of the hand. Okay, so that's the same effect whether the hand is turned or not. His fingers or her fingers are round, so as we rotate them, they just keep that round shape, and we won't really notice the difference. And now we're going to do the next finger. So we're going to turn on the middle finger and turn off the forefinger. And we're going to go into the main line. And we're going to go to the finger control 2. And we double click it to go into that smart action. And the blue background confirms you're in the smart action. So don't do anything when the blue is showing that you don't want to be permanent or that you don't reset. Okay, so the first thing we do with a smart control lever like this, we rotate it all the way to the left. Oh, wrong one. Control Z. Control Z will always undo whatever you've done wrong. So we're going to take the middle finger bone here, control bone. We're going to rotate it all the way to the left. That'll be our number 1 position. Then we're going to go to 64 and rotate it all the way to the right. And that'll be our maximum position. Now, why do I use 64? Well, I like to arrange control bones in star patterns like this in relationship to the body part they're affecting. So these bones are all going to affect the mouth in some manner. And you think, wow, that's awful complex. Well, it is, but it allows us to do practically anything with the character's face as far as expression is concerned. And this one will give us a phonetic mouth. So the traditional way of doing mouths for cartoon characters is to produce a series of different shapes for the mouth, and I've done this myself. And then you rotate a lever to choose a different mouth. Well, I wanted to do more than that, so I created a manipulate mouth control where this will adjust the amount of the, I forgot, what is that bone? That bone is jaw up and down. So this will allow the character's jaw to drop down and the teeth will come down with the jaw. And that's different than opening the mouth, because you can close your lips and open your jaw, or you can close your jaw and open your lips. So that's the same thing here. We're going to be able to open the jaw with the teeth, the bottom teeth, and over here we're going to open and close the lips, where this will make the lips wider and narrower. So like when you say ooh, you bring your lips together. So we're going to be able to do that. And when you say ah or ah, you can make those lips wider and produce a wider mouth. And then this right here on the bottom will adjust from the frown to smiles aspect. So we'll work through all of this in the following series of creating the new ZoyZoyHop here. So the reason I use 64 is because at 64 we can rotate these bones when we're in the bone layer and we're in the main line. So let me get there. So now we can manipulate these control bones, which will affect the character, but when we move this one to here and this one to here, they don't overlap. They can't touch each other, and we can't get one confused for the other. And again, this gives us 64 variations from one extreme to the other, so we really don't need more than that. And then it allows me to set these bones up with all their points meeting here in a star pattern, yet I will never overlap any of the bones and not know which bone I'm grabbing and what that bone is for. And if you don't know what they're for, you can show the labels. So you go to the bone layer and you can come up here and click on show the label, and it shows you that that is lips width. And we can do this for each bone individually, or we can highlight a whole set of bones and turn on the labels for all of them. The problem is that makes for hard reading when you're very far away from the character. But when you get zoomed in, then you can see, oh, there we go. But here's the thing. They're reverse. This pupil left right, right pupil left right, is this bone. And as you can see, as I select the bone, the label for it actually turns the same color. So this is the right pupil size. This is the right eyelids up and down. and this is the right pupil up and down. And so these will allow me to manipulate each pupil individually, yet I will connect them so that normally one set operates both, and we'll get to that later as well. So we can again turn all these labels off, or turn them on as we need them. So we can just, at this point, I'm just going to turn them all back off by Control Z to go back so that none of them are distorted or changed. But you can see when they're all selected, the star pattern shows up in each of these groups of 4, and you can see that they will not overlap. Now, if you wanted them to come and meet, I believe it's somewhere around 72, minus 72, that would do that. But in my opinion, it's better to use 64. 64 divides into 32. 32 divides into 16. 16 to 8. 8 to 4. 4 to 2. And so we've got an even progression from 1 to 64, no matter how we need to break it up. So we could have, every 4th number we're changing something, every 6th number, and so on. So that's why I use minus 32 and 32 for most of my control bone constraints, but not for all of them. As you can see, this one does not follow that pattern. The constraints on this are nearly a complete circle. So it's minus 350 degrees around to 0 degrees. So when I build what this bone does, which will be to manipulate the mouth into phonetic shapes for A, E, I, O, U, S, T, L, V, F, and so on. With normal animation, you use a phonetic chart, and in fact, so do I. So let me go ahead and bring it in, since I'm talking about it. We're going to bring in an image, and we go to our phonetic selector here. Now, this is one I made from an online group. I want to go in and use the one I created for all of our characters. So where did I put that? Probably all the way out to Dizzy Busy. No. Dorwood? No. There we go. Mouth reference. Phonetics for comics. Here we go. So here we go. I got online and found all those, and then I shaped one of my characters to those exact mouths. So the ones that say DA, these are danger aware mouth shapes, where the original ones have the darker background here and the tighter lines. So you can tell which ones are mine and which one came off the original chart. But I made both of these wheels. First I made this one, but then I decided let's do it with my own characters' mouths. So here's my phonetic wheel. It's a little bigger than most people's phonetics systems, but what I'm going to do is bring this over here so that it is behind our bone for the mouth. So let me bring this over my overlay so I can quickly set the center of those two bones, and now I can go to the phoneme wheel and bring its center to my overlay, and now it's in the right position where it will be when we use it. So most of the time it will be invisible. I've done that a number of ways, but the best way to do it is with controls built into Moho, which I will show you how to do when we get to this point. This lever here will turn the phonetic wheel off and on. So we can turn it on when we need it, turn it off when we don't. When we do need a phonetic mouth, we want to lip sync and such as that, we can use this bone and rotate to whichever phonetic mouth shape we need. And as you can see, I tried to lay it out fairly logically, where one leads directly to the next. just like that. But we do get here and we have to stop and go back around. So that gives us our phonetic mouths. But most of the time we're going to be using the manipulate mouth. And the way I do it, when we build the manipulate mouth, if we want the character shouting, we can open the jaw, open the mouth, and then pull the phonetics, and it will show the character shouting. I've done that already with a character. Let me bring that one up so that you can see it. Let's see, open recent. And I'm redesigning all the characters constantly. So here we've got any yellow ant portrait. I think this is the one I want. And we don't want to find the files. And there we go. So it's black and white because I'm making comics with this character. And as you can see, there's a lot more control bones over here as well. These are not starred, and there's a reason. And these are the ones that manipulate the character. So I haven't done the hand the way I'm doing the current hand. I've done it partially. You can move the fingers like this, and you can make them longer and shorter. So I had figured that part out before, but I had not figured out how to rotate the hand yet. So this character from just a month ago does not have hand rotation like the character I'm working on now will have. So this character has got his fingers. We can make them longer, shorter, fold them in, as you can see, or make it disappear for it to be like either right at the edge or the back of the hand. So if we wanted to show the back of the hand, I did it this way. So instead of having a lever to flip the palm back and forth, which I will do with this character eventually, now we just move the fingers in and out like this. So the last position is folded over the back. The next to last position is the furthest point inward like that. So we can make these fingers all show like they're folded inward, and they overlap, and we can't change the overlapping in this character either. Putting something in his hand would make it a little more difficult than what it's going to be with the new character hand. But back to the mouth. So here we can see the mouth. We can go into the animation layer, and I can move the jaw up and down. As you can see, the mouth, the jaw, the teeth move with the jaw properly. We can open the mouth wider so you can see that. Now there's gums there that only go so far, and then you're seeing tongue behind that. But it's up to the animator to use these tools to create the proper effect. It's not up to the designer to make sure that you can't abuse how far these things go, because sometimes you might want for comedic effect or whatever. So there we can do that. This makes the mouth wider or narrower, as I said. So if we wanted to make it like it was trying to whistle or say ooh or ah or whatever. So we can manipulate the mouth like that. And then the lips open and close. And then the frown and smile, very big smile, very big frown. And we can do everything in between. Just manipulating this, we can create just about any mouth shape that you would want to create under any circumstance. And also there's a tongue in there, and we can manipulate that tongue. So let's open up things so you can see what's going on with the tongue. So with the tongue, we can move it up and down, of course, so we can show it as if it's coming up down from the top of the mouth, or we can show it as if it's coming up from the bottom of the mouth. So we need that for different mouth function shapes. And then we can also move it left and right in the mouth to the extremes, you know. And then we can change the shape and size of the tongue. So we can shrink the tip size, and as you can see how it makes the tongue bulge out at the edges, so that we can do like a curling over effect. And then we can bring it into a tip, and the more we affect the width of the tongue here makes that effect much more pronounced. So we can bring it way in, make a very skinny tongue with a rounded tip, or we can make it wider, and we can affect where it's at and the shape of the tip. So that's what all these different tools are for. So now, if we put these all back to normal, and the easiest way to do that is you use B for bone, you select the bones, then you just go in and reset their angle. Nothing else needs to be reset. So there we go, we've got back to our normal mouth. Now with the normal mouth, we can use the phonetics tool, and it will change the shape of the mouth to each of those phonetic wheel positions. And here we can turn the phonetic wheel off and on, but I didn't find it here, so let's see. Well, I can delete it and put it back in. So insert a picture image and the phonetic wheel, and now I gotta resize everything. Just go back out. I just won't save my changes here. So anyway, with the phonetic wheel there, it would show up when we want it, so we can easily select the correct phonetic shape for the mouth. Now, as I was saying, if we do that, we're in every ant here, and that goes out there. So we're in there every ant, and we decide, well, we're going to do lip syncing, blah, 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 right? So we set each of these shapes that matches the phonetic wheel, and we choose to create the sing or the talking or whatever the case is. And as you can see, these bones are altering to each of those phonetic mouths. So when I set the bone positions for this bone, I manipulated these into the shape I wanted for each of those phonetic mouths. So as I rotate the bone, those change. And the beauty of it is, if I want to make the character shouting, we can bring the jaw down, open the mouth up wider, okay, and then go through the phonetics, and they're the same phonetics but with the shouty face. Or if we wanted to whisper, we could bring all of these down and also bring in the width of the mouth to a little bit narrower, and now we've got the whisper mouth shapes. So the way I've done this, we have absolute control where we can do anything we want with the face and the mouth and create any shape with our mouth, or we can jump over to the phonetics and use them, and we can use them in combination. So there you go. So now we can reset all these back to normal, which if we return to the baseline, they will. We can then just eliminate all this animation. And now you may be wondering what these other bones are for on the other side. So this is what I call an any yellow ant portrait character. So I had not yet gotten into doing good head turns yet, and I'm still working on that. And you can see I've got a head turn here happening. Works best in the animation. But yeah, there's my head turn, and I can move the head up and down. So it's not perfect, it's not great, but I'm learning still, and as I learn, I'll show you people what I learn. If you want to come and watch, I'll show you what I've been learning. So there's my head tilt. I don't think that's too bad. The mouth distorts a little too much here at the bottom, as you can see there. And I think that's only because we see it with the bone in place. And I think I should be moving the head up and down positionally as well as rotationally when I do this. But we'll work on that at a later time. So this is our base any yellow ant portrait character, and each of these bones make a difference to what that character looks like. So if we select all of these and turn on their labels so that you can see what each is, we can zoom in here so that you can read them properly. So we've got skull size, eye size, antenna size, beard size. Beard is these mandibles that we don't want to scare kids, so call it beard. The mouth size, the cheek size, the heft, the thorax, the height, eyebrows, abdomen, and wing size. And then this one on the bottom is sex, and I put that there because that was the last one I made. And I can't think of anything else to add to these. Now, each of these like all my other constrained bones, have a constraint, but I've gone 70 to 70 here. And the reason is because that gives us a lot more variation when we move that bone. So, and as you can see, if we put these back to back, they would actually overlap. So 70 is definitely too much to make a star pattern from. But with 140 different positions here, now I calculated this out once, and I now realize I have it wrong. My calculation in my prior training video, where I told everybody how many characters I could create, let's change this one to the 70s as well. So we go minus 70 and 70. Now this does not affect how it does not affect how far you can move the bone in degrees. Well, it does, doesn't it? It gives you 140 degrees now. And actually, because I programmed that 6 one, I'm going to put it back to 64. But I think all these others I must have set at 70 and not realized that I had. Yeah, they're all at 70. So what that means is each one of them will do 140 different possible variations. So like the skull, we're going to go into the skull here, and we can change it all the way to the left. And what is not working? I've done something wrong here, because this should be creating a different character, or I must have opened an old one. Let me don't save this. Let me open and go and make sure I'm getting the latest version of it. So we're going to go open, and we're going to go into our Doorwood. Let's see. And then to Dizzy Busy and Funshine 2 Time and Ants and Every Ant and then Yellow Ants, and there's my latest Yellow Ant. Okay, right here, Mono, and Mono here. Let's open this one. And yeah, we'll find the Fun'em wheel. You know where it's at. Oh. Bone layout. I don't need that one. And there we go. So now, if we turn on the phonetic wheel here, you can see that it shows up just like that. So we can bring it up while we're animating the character and need to see it, and then turn it off so that it doesn't show up in the animation. So this is not the right character either. I think I've done something and messed it up. Let me go look at another ant. Let's see. Every red ant. Let's see. Alright, let's see if this character's working. Yeah, so there we go. So here's the skull size. We can go to a very tiny skull size or a very large skull size. And this one, I do believe it's 64s. Nope, it's 70s as well. So at 70, let me calculate this, because this, at 64, it was amazing how many different characters. So what we've got is 13 different features that we can change with, well, 12 of them with 70 differences, or 140 differences each. So I'm using minus 70 to 70 instead of minus 32 to 32. So we're going from, when I calculated it was 64,000 or 64 different poses per feature. Now it's 140. So we go 140 and we take that to the power of, let's see, here we go, x to y. So we do that to the power of 12. And that gives us 5.6 times to the 25th power. 5.6, yeah, 5.6 to the 25th power different individual characters by manipulating these bones here that change each feature. So we can create a character with a mid-sized skull but a little large, with antennas come in and get smaller, the beard gets longer, the mouth gets tinier, the cheeks get bigger. We can create literally more than I can even state numbers of characters. The last time I calculated it, I thought it was 3.2 hexillion different characters, but it's actually much more than that. And then we can go extreme female to extreme male versions. So, I've just done some different body changes to say, well, this is what a female looks more like, and this is what a male looks more like. So the females have smaller bulbs on their antennae. They have a bigger head. The head goes up in the center, where the males, the head goes down. And the cheeks go in and out a bit on the upper cheeks, not the lower cheeks, because the lower cheeks is a separate control over here, this one. So we can literally create billions and trillions and quadrillions and hexillions and 25 whatever that would be called illions, because that would be 5.6 to the 25th power of individual characters that we can create simply by changing these features. And then we can lock them in because they're considered shy bones. You see here? And so we can go to bones and we can say, we can select them and hide them that way, but we can also just go to bones and hide shy bones. And now the shy bones disappear. I need to make this one a shy bone as well. So let's bring the shy bones back. And then we'll make this one a shy bone. Just like that. And now we want to show all shy bones. There we go. And now we can hide all shy bones. And what that does is that locks this character in. And I can go back to the construction layer, and he's going to revert to our root character. But if I go into the animation line, he is the set character. And now I can begin to animate this character, changing the eyes and, making him look around left to right. Eyes go up and down. The pupils, looks like that one's not working. So I've got some work to do on the character, obviously. But the point is, we can create literally an unlimited number of characters. The mouth is also the phonetic to manipulate. Oh no, this is my first manipulate mouth. And what I would do is I could allow you to manipulate the mouth here for the jaw up and down, the lips and all that. And I had not yet done the tongue width and height, so this is just tongue left and right. So if we open the mouth, where you can see the tongue is going left and right and up and down, but I can't control the size of the tongue or the shape of the tongue yet. So there's still some work to do on these characters, and I'm just remodeling them all as I go. But on this phonetic mouth, when I created it, it was only a smaller group of mouths, and when I go here, I turn off the manipulate mouth, you cannot alter these with the manipulate mouth. So this was my first iteration of doing a phonetic mouth by eliminating the manipulate mouth, but still having the ability to create any kind of manipulate mouth I want. And then so when I finally went to the new ZoyZoyHop, I'm not going to change these changes. When I went to the new ZoyZoyHop, and I don't want to save those changes, that's when I designed and created this new way of using the phonetic mouth in conjunction with the manipulate mouth. So we can now manipulate the mouth into any shape and then force it into phonetics of that manipulate shape. And so we can whisper or shout or anything in between. So now we can get back to work on this hand, but it's getting kind of late. So I think that I will shut down now. Thank you for watching. If you've been here watching, I'm still learning how to do all of this. So if anybody's made any comments, I've probably missed it. Let me check here. See, I have another computer. I've got 3 computers running right now. There's the computer that I'm working on the character. This is the Danger Aware computer, the laptop that belongs to Danger Aware. But I'm actually broadcasting from my personal computer, and so I can go in and bring up my personal computer, but you can't see it because the broadcast program allows me to set it so you can only see the Danger Aware laptop through my desktop. And then of course I can I'm monitoring everything on my MacBook Pro, and I'm using a headset with that, which allows me to monitor what's sound like. So I can hear my mouth, hear my own voice, but it's delayed, so it's hard to talk and listen at the same time. But I can put the headphones on in order to confirm my audio levels and that you can hear the music in the background and all of that. So bear with me as I learn how to broadcast on Twitch TV here, and we will work some more on the character next time I do this. I will try to broadcast. I don't know when I will broadcast. I am disabled and in a lot of pain, so I apologize, but I cannot set a specific schedule and stay to it. There's no way I can know when I can broadcast, and that's why I had to take that break earlier. My arm was hurting really bad from using the mouse, and I'm letting it rest right now while I'm talking to you. Obviously, I'm not changing anything on the screen. So if you want to leave comments or come and check in and watch as we learn how to use Moho and learn how to take it to the extremes of making our characters do practically anything we want them to do in 2 dimensions, then tune in and I'll show you what I learn as I learn it. And hopefully we can learn things together. You can send me questions and maybe suggestions and teach me how to do things the right way sometimes. So you all have a wonderful day. I'll go ahead and go to our greetings screen where I'm asking you to help us change the paradigm of abuse awareness. Donate to us at dangeraware.org. Every dollar you give helps. And what we are doing, we're developing games and contests and books and comics and cartoons and whatever you can think of that would help us change the paradigm of abuse awareness. We will try to do it. We want to make a place that's free to the world for anybody, and you can come and play games for free, and while you're playing the games you're going to learn personal rights to help you keep from becoming a victim of abuse. So if you have any suggestions on how we can do that, please send them to us. If you think we should be doing something more than we are, please let us know. Nobody's done what we've done, and so we are breaking ground on creating a website where anybody can learn how to protect themselves without having to pay to learn that, and without having to be lectured or preached at. We're trying to teach you in a way that you want to learn. Our games are not that great yet. They're just basic spelling games so far. But please take a look at them, play them, learn the statements that our games put out, and if you have suggestions for those, we're open to taking those. So lots and lots that we need help with. If you can volunteer, please contact us at info@dangeraware.org. That's info@dangeraware.org. And that will get to me personally, and I can respond to whatever it is that you're interested in helping with. We need all the help we can get, and we need suggestions, and we need animators and writers and artists. So if you have a skill, please come and help us. Thank you.
Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud. Let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger,